What's up, guys? It's three-time NFL Pro Bowler, all-decade return specialist, Josh Cribbs. I want to welcome you to the College Sports Connection podcast, where Double A, Alex, and AJ host the Mid-American Conference Best.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the CSC podcast. We are here from the Fox Theater in the Motor City, Detroit, Michigan. I'm here with second-year athletic director Bryan Blair at the University of Toledo. What a great year you guys had. I mean, Toledo just in all sports. I mean, I think you guys won the Jacoby Award this year for the men, or
The Reese.
The Reese Award. That's right. Forgive me. What a great year. I mean, what a great year for a first year, too.
Not bad, right? I'm extremely grateful to be a Rocket. I think so many things jump out at me, but to win 6 conference championships in 1 year, sure. I think our previous record was 3. We had the highest GPA in department history. We led the conference in attendance in men's and women's basketball and football, only school to ever do that. You go on and on and on about some of the opportunities. And again, that's not about me. That's the department, that's the staff, that's our coaches that poured in for a long time for it to come to fruition last year. Was exciting. It was exciting for 2 reasons. One, those people that poured in that work get to experience that. I'm really excited for that. But 2, as I see it, that's the tip of the iceberg for where we can go. And that's what excites me even more as I sit around the city, as I go around, as I talk to people, as I look at things. We've got so many more opportunities to tap into to take this thing to the next level. Right. And so if that's our starting point, I feel really good about our future.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you mentioned the 6 MAC championships. Football obviously is the reason we're here, so we can kind of dive into that one a little bit. But, I mean, I look at the schedule for Toledo this upcoming year. I mean, the scheduling game with Illinois, I think, is huge for the program. It's always good to see a MAC team play a Big Ten team. Ideally win that game, but it's always nice to see that matchup. But I really love Toledo's scheduling model, how they do the Power 5, the FCS, kind of get the feet wet, and then they have quality similar opponents. And, I think we've got San Jose State coming into town this year.
San Jose State.
So I think, for those games, it's such a critical thing, and it's an important piece of building a program. And I think you've got a great staff at Toledo with Coach Candle and what they've been doing and what they continue to do. 2 MAC championships in the last 7 years, it doesn't happen very often. Coaches are usually gone. It's got to be refreshing for you to be able to say it's nice to retain this staff.
I think we had 5 MAC Coach of the Years this year, and we bring them all back. That does not happen at this level. When you get that many Coach of the Years and success, sometimes they feel like they're going after the quote-unquote greener pastures. Mm-hmm. I think what I've seen at Toledo is you've got people that really appreciate being at Toledo. They appreciate how the community supports them. They know that it's a great place to raise a family, and they know they've got more in the tank. And I think I keep coming back to that because as you talk to people that have been there for a while, they know there's more there. And I think you talk about Coach Candle, he and I, at least in my opinion, have built a tremendous relationship. Over the last year, I've got to know him and his family and his philosophies and how he assembles a team. And he's done a great job of assembling talent on our roster and getting really good results out of him. And so we're fired up for what our opportunities are this year. And the great thing about it is you got all the preseason polls, all the talk about what could be. None of that matters. All that matters is Toledo being the best version of itself. Yep. And I think the same for our department. If our department can be the best version of itself, we're going to be in a really, really good spot, and that's what excites me.
You talked about 5-6 MAC coaches of the year. I didn't realize it was that many. You're right. That's absolutely mind blowing. And then on top of the championships, it's when it comes to bringing talent in as athletes as well as coaches. What are things you kind of look for? I know we had a new softball coach this year. Is that correct?
We did. And soccer.
And soccer. Yeah. So it's what do you look for and as your focus when you're bringing in new talent to kind of fit in with the culture of Toledo?
Yeah, I think part of it is understanding who you are and having some self-awareness about your department, your organization, your program, because what might be a good coach 1 year for you, 5 years later is not a good coach because it's not a good fit based on who they're following, the circumstances, the resources, the like. So I think starting with a profile of what you feel like you need at that very time has got to be the critical part, because if you start without a profile, you can get distracted by shiny things and flashy brands and logos and schools and the agents getting in your ear and everything. Then to me, you go down a list of, okay, what have you done? what do people say about you, and what do you say in the interview, in that order, descending. I think you can get fooled in an interview session from a flashy talker or a great actor or actress for an hour. You really want to dig into what impact have you had on organizations in your past, and also what do people that work with you, that learn from you, that are around you say about you on your good days when you're winning a championship, but also on the day you get a flat tire coming into work.
Right.
How do you treat people around you? And I think what you notice about our coaches, they do the same thing with recruits, right? They ask the guidance counselor, the lady at the front desk, they ask the janitor, they ask whoever questions about the young man in addition to his coach.
Sure.
I try to do the same in coaching searches to make sure I'm asking really a well-rounded group questions about that individual to get to know them outside that one-on-one interview session, so I can make sure that I feel really good about the right fit for our department, because I won't tolerate working with bad people.
Sure.
That's the number one thing that always stays on the profile. You got to be a good person. If you start from there, we got a chance to be successful.
No, I love it, and I think it's so important. You talked about the coaches, talking to the athletic directors, but not only that, but like the custodial staff. Everybody else, and I think you're right. It's so important to maintain success. It's one thing to have flash in the pan success, but to maintain it, you got to surround yourself with the right people, and I think that's so important.
Yeah, I mean, in today's world, with student athletes having the ability to up and leave your program at any moment, having a bad person, a person that's not in tune with student athletes or doesn't treat them the right way, is a non-starter, because you'll have an empty locker room really quick. So I think starting with that, and somebody that can relate to young people but absolutely get the most out of them, has got to be a starting point for any coaching search. And then after that, you're just coloring in the lines for all the other variables.
Well, and you mentioned that players getting the opportunity to leave with the transfer portal, and now stuff with NIL. From a lot of championship teams, especially at a mid-major level, you see a lot of those guys transfer out. They're like, hey, I proved myself here. I won a championship. Where can I go? That wasn't the case at Toledo. I mean, Toledo brought back a lot of starters on both sides of the ball who weren't graduating.
Yeah, I mean, that's a testament to Jason Candle. I mean, when you've got somebody, I can go down the list and name a bunch of our players, but he's here today, Quinyon Mitchell. He was an All-American last year, grew up nearby Gainesville, Florida, and had lots of opportunities, certainly out of high school and even since. And he comes back because he wants to be a part of our program. That didn't happen in a lot of places.
No.
And so our student athletes in Toledo, by and large, I believe, have a really good student athlete experience. They enjoy living there, going to school there. But they also realize everything that I want to dream about, I can do at Toledo. If it's go to the NFL, I've got those opportunities. We've shown it. If it's get a great degree and even a graduate degree, we've got student athletes with graduate degrees working on certificates. You can do everything at Toledo, including be an engineer or a doctor. And if it's just to be a productive member of society, we've got that role for you too. So the great thing I love about Toledo is, like, we've got engineers, specifically one last year, Deontay Johnson, who was our defensive player of the game in our MAC championship game, is now with the New York Giants. Yeah. And it's an engineering major. Like, where does that happen at a lot of places? And at Toledo, that's not only happening, it's just he's not the only example.
It's consistent.
I could point to 5 or 10 other examexamples.
No, and that like you said, that's such a testament to the program and what the program has kind of built. Talk to me about this team this year. Let's talk some football here. What's I know that you talked about all the preseason hype and whatever. What are your expectations? Not wins and losses necessarily, but what are your expectations for the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got a lot of opportunity out in front of us. I want our guys and our coaches and our staff to be the best version of themselves. And I think if we do that, everything else takes care of everything else. I think Coach Candle's done a tremendous job of assembling the locker room. I think he's also done a tremendous job of assembling a very talented staff that cares about young people. And then you look on the field, I mean, there's talent there, right? I mean, we return a huge percentage of our roster from last year's championship team. Yeah. So the expectations are out there. I don't think anybody puts more expectations on them than themselves, right? That locker room, from the moment I've talked to them, they've got their goals clear as day. Sure. And that started last year after winning the bowl game against Liberty. They've already started talking about their expectations for this year. So I'm really excited to just watch the guys go out, play loose, have fun, watch our coaches do their thing. We're going to let the schedule take care of the schedule. Sure. But really fired up for these Saturdays in the fall, specifically all of our Saturdays are in September. Yeah. The way the schedule fell, but really excited to see that come to fruition.
Wanted to ask you about the NIL situation. Yep. Toledo just started the 1923 Society. Yep. Kind of dive into that, and that seems to kind of be the front runner in the MAC in terms of just a collective and just kind of getting student athletes opportunities. I just saw something the other day on Twitter where I think it's called the NIL store, and DeQuan Finn was one of the top 5 ranked players on that store.
And the only one outside the Power 5 on that top 5 list.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, NIL has been a focus for our department. I think when I first got there, we had this opportunity to have a collective, and so that started Friends of Rocky. We've had 2 collectives since then for both basketball programs, men's and women's, Blue and Gold Legacy. So they're out there, they're active. We started in 1923 to support our philanthropic fundraising, but to also be able to communicate that. I want people to donate to our department. I want them to buy merchandise, and I want to support our student athletes through NIL.
Sure.
And you can donate by support any way you feel free. I want you to follow your passion because we need all 3 to be successful as an athletic department. But I'm really proud to say we had the first collective in the MAC. I'm really proud to say we've got one of the only NIL stores in the MAC, and we've got a quarterback leading the way nationally in terms of sales. And we hadn't even rolled out the jerseys yet. The jerseys are coming, I think, later this month. But that was just on T-shirt designs. But we've got more to come there. I took one of my top staff spots. I made a significant portion of her job duties football and NIL. I believe we're the first group in the MAC and probably in the nation to make a change at the SWA spot with a focus on NIL. I wanted somebody in one of my top department spots focused on one of the things that I view as the most important in our day-to-day activities. So she's focused on bringing those type of opportunities to the table and more. But we're keenly focused on that because that's a part of recruiting, retaining young people is to show them that you have a robust NIL program and we can compete no matter what kind of school we're talking about.
That's awesome. I mean, it's a testament to what, again, going back to the everybody buying into what Toledo's doing, what they're kind of creating. I thank you so much for this time. I mean, we've got so many things happening today, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but thank you so much for, just chopping it up with me, talking shop, and a lot of good things on the horizon for Toledo.
No, I appreciate it. One, I just want to say a heartfelt thank you to you guys. One, you do a great job covering the MAC and covering Toledo. You've been really welcoming to me as being a newbie, trying to learn names and meet people and always having a friendly face that I can find in the crowd. So you guys do a great job. I'm happy to support any way I can. And then last, but go Rockets.
Hey, there you go, man. TOL, right?
Yeah, EDO.
Thanks so much. All right, everybody, welcome back to the CSC podcast, all action all the time. I am here at the Fox Theater in the Motor City, Detroit, Michigan, with head coach Jason Candle of the Toledo Rockets. Coach, first off, congrats on a great season last year. That's I know there was some rumblings about a few bumps in the road, but hey, a MAC championship and a bowl win, can't sneeze at that.
Yeah, I thought we had some tough moments last year. Started out in preseason practice. In the first 3 practices, we lose 2 starting offensive linemen. 1 for the season and 1 for a good duration of the year. So some adversities right off the jump. Injuries are part of football, and really proud of our team how they responded. To finish out the year we did, I thought was a really good feat for our team. Got us some valuable lessons that we can learn from as we head into this year.
Sure, and you guys look at everything you guys accomplished last year. I mean, just wins and losses aside, I mean, you guys for the first 7 weeks of the season put up more points on Ohio State than anybody else did.
Yep.
I mean, in a primetime game at their play, a very hostile environment. I mean, what an impressive display for Toledo on a national level. But also, I mean, you look at, you talked about the adversity. Games where you guys came back, Kent State down 21-0 early, just bouncing back, going to Northern Illinois and using guys like Quinyon Mitchell with the 4 interceptions. I mean, just unbelievable what Toledo accomplished this last year. And how do you build on that? I mean, there's a lot of hype for Toledo this year. How do you stay focused and then build on that success?
Yeah, I think that, obviously we talk a lot in our program about, living in the present and, and I think what your challenge is to produce in the present. You want to learn from the past. You always prepare for the future, but I think the challenge is to continue to, understand the value of a good day. How do you continue to stack those together and really just whatever the goals may be, and they are very high inside the walls of our building, and they always are, higher than maybe the outside person on the outside of our walls think that they think they set the standard sometimes.
Sure.
But, the behaviors have to match those goals, and I think our team really does a good job of embracing that. And, we've got a good group of guys that are very connected, and they're very familiar with one another, very familiar with the staff. Sure. So it creates a good culture. It creates a good culture to go to work each and every day. And I think culture sometimes in the world is a very loosely used term. We kind of define that as what you celebrate and what you tolerate. And, we don't tolerate a bunch of nonsense. And, our team GPA in the spring was a 3.2.
Sure.
We won the Institution Achievement Award from the AFCA with one of 7 schools or 8 schools that Toledo shouldn't be by average standards. Toledo shouldn't be in the category with those type of places. So I think our guys do above and beyond. They go above and beyond. They try to maximize their potential on the field, off the field, and when you have that, you got a great baseline to try to continue to take it one step further.
Sure. And then you talk about the things that Toledo accomplished off field as well. With the GPA and stuff. Talk to me about the keeping guys. I mean, Toledo really in the MAC comparatively didn't have a lot of guys leave in the transfer portal. It just, it seems like you've got a lot of your starters returning who didn't graduate. Talk about the culture that you guys have built to bring those guys back. I mean, Quinion Mitchell, All-American. DeQuan Finn there's a lot of talk about, is he going elsewhere? You brought both of them back. How huge is that?
I just think that it's real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have real conversations. We tell each other the truth, and I think it never gets to a point in time where somebody's got to, beg somebody to return or to, those conversations are happening way in advance. Like, hey, if these are the things that you want to get accomplished, here's a pathway to do that. I'm in this fight with you, and this is how we're going to go about this to try to help you reach your full potential.
Sure.
Coaches obviously all the time, you've heard the old adage of, you play for the name on the front of the jersey rather than the one in the back. I'm a little different there. I think that you have to take a selfish approach to your individual development as a player. And if every player in our locker room does that, then we'll create naturally a good culture that ultimately produces for the name on the front of the jersey.
Sure.
So, we tell each other the truth. We have real honest conversations. Things are real in our building. Do we make mistakes? Do we have issues? Sure we do. But who doesn't? So, we put a lot of time, stock, and energy in the response to problems rather than the reaction. Let the outside people, the media people, everything else to handle the reaction of things and, do the best job we can to make sure that we have the best response. So, there's opportunities for young people to go on and do things and go out other places. We were able to keep all of our guys for the most part. A couple here and there that were backup players and went on. There were opportunities that maybe they have a chance to start at another place, which by all means, that's what you should do. Have a great college football experience, but really excited about the guys that we do have returning. Those 2 headliner guys that you mentioned are at the forefront of that thinking.
Yeah, for sure. And then, just looking at this upcoming season, I mean, you guys on the road at Illinois. I mean, I think that's a much different opponent than Ohio State. Mm-hmm. But I think it's also it's still a high-quality opponent. Talk about that. Talk about that scheduling and getting that game. How pumped are you guys to just kind of get going against a good opponent?
Well, I think the average fan needs to do some homework and research on Illinois. I mean, you watch that Michigan game last year. You watch some of those primetime games that they played. I mean, they are a bad break away, a couple bad breaks away from having a tremendous year. And they had a great season, you know what I mean? But it could have been really, really special. So, Coach Bielema is a pro. He's done a really good job of building programs in all the places, and we'll continue to build the one at Illinois. We're going to play in a historic stadium. Great opening opponent for us, a tremendous opportunity for our football team to showcase its abilities on a national stage. And we're 6 or 7 weeks out from doing that, and we got to do a good job making sure we handle each day between now and the time that ball kicks off.
You're getting some offensive line power back, guys that were lost to injury last year. How big is that going to be now that you've not only get those guys back, but you have the guys who are behind them with that depth? That's got to be huge.
Well, we go to play Ohio State, and we start Devin Rogers, who a month ago was a defensive tackle.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so that guy goes on from a guy that's a really talented player who's at times holding on for dear life to now he's a different guy. I mean, the confidence that young man has right now has been really, really fun to watch and fun to see. We brought a couple pieces in from the transfer portal, and David Wagugu and Rod Orr and Jackson Cannon. So they'll add depth at the minimum. They'll add depth, and a couple of those guys could potentially challenge and start, for a starting position. So it's created a lot of competition up there. And again, I think the main thing, and you alluded to it, is the experience that some of those guys got last year by default.
Sure. We got to talk about it. A lot of ire was drawn after the Bowling Green loss. What's kind of your answer to the fans, was chirping at us about that loss, and what's kind of the response to fans like, it's a rivalry game. You're not going to win every single one. I know there was a great stretch there. What do you say to fans to kind of like, hey, it's going to be okay. This didn't destroy our program.
Hey, what I would say is I'm a diehard Boston Red Sox fan, and when we lose to the New York Yankees, I am not happy. I don't care who pitches. I don't care if I like the manager. I don't. So I understand. So,
Sure.
And unfortunately, over time frame of my adult life, we've lost to the Yankees a hell of a lot more times than we've won. So, but that's part of why what makes sports so special. It's part of what the pageantry of everything, and brings everyone together. At times, the moments of that game, I mean, that we were not at our best. We got another really good receiver double teamed, and he makes a catch for a touchdown over top of our head. The last play we missed 6 or 7 tackles on the. We did off to a terrible start on offense. We get a punt blocked. We have another penalty in the red area inside the 5-yard line where, not only it didn't affect the punt, but allowed them to have more space to punt. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Just different things that throughout the game, that the breaks that that maybe went our way in the bowl game or the conference championship game that didn't go our way that day. So that's part of sport. You got to do a great job of understanding what you did really well the previous year, things that you didn't do well, and then highlight the good and fix the bad, and continue to try to push the envelope of your program forward. So that I-75 rivalry is very important to us. We've put a ton of stock and energy into that for a lot of years, and continue to do so. Our track record and our record, and really my record here at Toledo against that team would reflect the time and energy that we do put into
Pretty
it.
good.
that we do put into it.
Right.
So last year wasn't any different, and this year won't be any different as the approach and the preparation. We just got to make a couple more plays.
Sure. That MAC championship, obviously, you guys win that in an incredibly defensive game. A very surprisingly defensive game. I think, betting lines and whatever had like 53 points over under, and so that was incredible. I mean, for the side of the ball that was kind of criticized the previous weeks, for them to kind of turn it on. I mean, that was a pretty big moment for you guys.
Well, I think a combination of team football there in those last 2 games. I mean, no turnovers and playing great defense, and understanding that sometimes a possession, even though despite what the head coach thinks and despite what any of our fans thinks, it's okay to punt once in a while. So we won some field position battles. We did a good job, like I said, and especially the bowl game when a tough weather day, taking care of the ball, and really relied on a really good front to lock down a run game, and then those guys in the back half, really good communication and not letting guys run free down the secondary. So, expecting really good things out of our defense. A lot of veteran guys that return back, and got to take another step up there.
No, for sure. And Coach, that's it for me. I know expectations are high for both Rocket fans and within the organization for sure, especially with a lot of the preseason hype. But it's one game at a time, right?
Well, I mean, it is what it is. It's we're in the middle of July here, and I don't remember the last time a champion was crowned in July or a ring was handed out in July. So we got a long way to go. This is a long process, and really the final block or the final quarter of your off season. You start in winter workouts, you go to spring practice, then you go to the summer, and then here comes preseason camp. So I feel like we've done a good job through the first 3 parts of that, and this last part, I think we got to really lock in and do a good job of really finding an identity of what we want to really hang our hat on in all 3 phases of the game. Excited about our new special teams coordinator and what that's going to look like. And I think there'll be visible changes in that area of the game for us. So just really looking forward to getting back on the field with these guys and being around them and coaching them, because, like I said, it's a fun group to coach.
For sure. September 1st at Illinois. Going to be a good one. Looking forward to it. Coach, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And go Rockets.
I appreciate you having me. Go Rockets.